Everyone keeps asking me how does retirement feel, and to be honest right now it doesn't feel any different to being a professional athlete or probably any kind of athlete. I'm still a little bit post-race sore, a bit tired, but I guess more than anything I just kind of have this deep happiness and sense of pride in what I've done, and yeah, I just still feel that I know that this is the right time.
What was it about this moment, whether it was this event this year, that makes it feel like the right time?
Yeah, there's so many parts to why now, but I think the first thing to say is when I wanted to have a child, I decided I wanted to have the opportunity to come back, but I was never thinking that I wanted to come back into this sport and maybe have another 5 or 6 years. For me, it was always going to be a bit of a quick hit, and mostly to just try and see what I was capable of, what was possible. I wanted to do that for myself, to kind of prove to myself that I could get back to a really good level postpartum, but I think also to anyone, whether they're a professional athlete or whether they're an age group person or whether they are just someone who is looking to get into sport postpartum, that it is possible to do anything. And whilst we all have now these, I say we, all the mothers out there, the parents out there have these ties to these small humans now, you can have something for yourself in your life as well, and you should do, and that's actually probably the healthiest way to live for your own mental and physical health, to have something that you can do. And I think I definitely am a better mother because I've had my own goals and my own focus as well. So yeah, I wanted to come back and see what I could do. I wanted to come back and prove the level that I could get to, and I also wanted the opportunity to end this sport really happy. And if I'm honest, if I'd stepped away completely when I got pregnant to have Emmy, I don't think that would have truly been the case. I think I'd had a wonderful career up until that point as well, but I don't think I was really in love with the sport at that point. I'd found the build-up and everything around the Tokyo Olympics with all the COVID restrictions that we had. It was a terrible time for the whole world, and as a professional athlete it was pretty hard too. And I didn't love it anymore. And so coming back and having one more hit, one more full year of racing, has meant that I get to go out and just say, no, I can honestly say I absolutely adore this sport, and I don't think there's a better way to leave it.
Hey, we're here with Vicky Holland. So Vicky, obviously racing this weekend. You looking forward to it?
Absolutely, you can't not look forward to it, right? It's an Olympic course, first time we've raced here. It feels a bit real now that we're getting a year out. It's a year today till the women race, so yeah, definitely getting exciting.
How have you seen this sport change in the time you've been here? You talked about how looking at the sport and the environment and the timings, that wasn't the right time, but now is.
Yeah.
What's happened in that time?
So this sport has changed so much since I started in 2005, and I think every few years it sort of evolves again, and it massively depends on, usually there's 1 or 2 characters that come in and they're real animators of the race, and we've seen that over my career. You know, it started off, Snowsill was probably the biggest animator when I first started racing, and not long after that it became Emma Moffat, and then Gwen Jorgensen turned the racing on its head with running like we'd never seen before. And then after that era came Flora, with the way that she dominated from the front of races alongside people like Jess Learmonth and Georgia Taylor-Brown, and they started taking the race away from everybody within the first, few hundred meters of the swim. And then we've sort of gone back to a bit more of a run era, with the running going up yet another notch with Cassandra and Beth and people, and it has evolved multiple times, and it does feel like every few years it changes, and I've done my very best over the years to evolve with it and to try and at least keep myself nearly at the top, if not at the top of the sport. But I think right now I feel where I finished this weekend with the 4th place, that's probably about as good as I can hope for now. I don't think I can run quite as fast as those very top girls, and I just think that's everything I could have asked from my body. I'm not young anymore, I'm 38, I'll be 39 in a couple of months' time, and I think I've been doing this a long time. I was running before I was even a triathlete, I was swimming before I was a triathlete, so really I've done sport since I was 6 years old in club level, and it's definitely time for a break.
Obviously we're still quite early season still, but how's it going for you?
Yeah, it's been really good. I spent all the sort of winter, if you like, it's been summer for me, I've been in Australia, so that's been a really good build-up for me. I've done a few races so far, a few smaller races, had a couple of wins over in New Zealand, which was a great way to kick off with some slightly less serious racing. Since then, I've had a big World Series opener in Sydney, which I had an average result. I was 12th, solid opener for the year, but not exactly where I want to be. I'm hoping to crack back into that top 10 and hopefully top 5 and beyond sort of later on in the year.
The way you talk with that kind of overarching view of the field, with the sport itself, do you think when you started, you always had that aspiration to be at the top and kind of conscious of everything around you?
I think if I look back to me as a teenager, just when I was about to start triathlon, I always believed I could do anything. And I think that's maybe the naivety of youth a little bit, maybe a bit of ignorance there. I definitely found triathlon a little bit harder to crack than maybe I thought when I first came into this sport. But then I think I just realised how hard this game is over the years. And as I sort of got in the early stages of my triathlon career, I think I probably started to question whether I would ever make it to the very, very top of this sport. And it took me 10 years to win a big race from when I started doing triathlon to when I won my first World Series race. So it was a really long slog to get to that point. And then the last 9 have been a mixture of amazing seasons, brilliant results, injuries that wipe out a whole season, and a pregnancy pause in there. So I think I've had everything over the last 9-10 years of my career.
Well done, Vicky, great race.
Cheers.
Talk us through how it went.
Well, the swim was pretty good. I managed to get myself nicely into the front group, sort of just tacked onto there. Through transition and onto the bike, I realised I was nicely in that front group and just kind of hid most of the bike. I did a few turns, but I was really struggling to find my legs after last weekend. Tough race in Hamburg, and only a 6-day turnaround was finding that pretty hard. So onto the run, I had a great transition, third out onto the run, but the run just went fast from the start, and I just never really got in control of it. So after a lap, I felt like I had to let those first girls go and try and find my own rhythm, but I'm really pleased that I held on and came in 6th.
What kind of message do you want to give with that to other athletes who maybe see a very long road ahead, but like you say, you persevere, you fight through so much, and you find the meaning in it, you find that kind of reward?
I mean, there's so many quotes I could use, isn't there? So many cheesy quotes like, get knocked down 6 times, get up 7, or whatever it is, stuff like that. But it's true. It's cheesy, but it's true. And I think sport is amazing for that, not just professional sport, any level of sport, because it teaches you real resilience. And I hope that's something that I can take into my life going on. And I hope that to be something I instill in my daughter as well, that you have to take the knocks that life gives you. You can have 2 choices. You can stay down or you can get back up again, and you can choose to let yourself fester and be sad and blame people, or you can take accountability and you can move on. And I think that's something I've done really well throughout my career and my life in general. I've allowed myself to feel the lows, but then I always get back up again and I work out a way to move forward. And that's probably the biggest advice I would give to anybody, no matter what level of sport they're in.
Today was really important because it is on the course that we will race on next year. The focus was just getting to the run in one piece. Then we got to the run in one piece and had to duke it out between 4 of us for 3 medals.
Climbing away from those lows, you've had some incredible highs. Looking at Rio first, how do you look back on that experience now? I mean, I'm sure you were interviewed plenty at the time, but now, different stage of your career, what did that mean to you?
So with Rio, I was so focused on going there and trying to deliver. I'd automatically qualified the year before. I'd had a podium in World Series that year. My training had gone amazingly. As far as I was concerned, I was going to Rio to bring home a medal. When I then did that, I guess I probably just went, okay, relief, I've done it. I've done the job that I wanted to do. And yes, I was happy, and yes, I was proud, but it probably took a little while before I actually really went, whoa, this is like a really big deal. I've got an Olympic medal now. And I think even more so, the years have gone on, and there's been 2 Olympic cycles since that point. And I think I've just realised how hard it is to win Olympic medals, because the best in the world don't always get it right on that one day that comes every 4 or maybe 5, occasionally 3 years. It's incredibly hard, even if you're one of the most consistent performers out there, to put it together on that day. And I think now that at this, old wise age, I can look back and say that I'm so proud that I actually did it on the day that mattered, on the day I had an opportunity. I took it and I got a medal.
Yeah, I think it's been a long time coming actually. We've had such a strong heritage of triathlon in Great Britain, not just with the guys, with Alistair and Johnny, but with the girls' side as well. And Helen was sort of a real pioneer for me, really. I remember her winning her first world title in 2008, and it's been a really long time since then for us to win a medal. So I'm just really honoured and delighted that it was me who got the first one. I think Non will be back with a vengeance, absolutely. I'd really love to see Jodie make an Olympics after being so close in both Rio and for London. In terms of externally, outside of Great Britain, I think Gwen has ambitions on being back for 2020. I know she wants to start a family, but she might well be back. And I think in terms of the youth of today, there's one or two coming through. Cassandra Beaugrand, the French girl, is one that springs to mind. Our very own Georgia Taylor-Brown as well is definitely one to look for, so we'll see.
A hugely significant medal as well, the first woman to win a medal in triathlon for Great Britain. How do you feel like the success of the women's field, the British women's field, has kind of flourished from that point onwards?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I get to claim the credit for it, but it feels amazing to think that maybe I was a catalyst for the success that we've had within the British women. I think it's important to mention we'd had a lot of success before we had any Olympic medals. We'd had a lot of world champions and people who'd won medals at World Series level. And I always looked to Helen Jenkins, who was sort of my idol, if you like, as I came through the sport. She was the girl who was trailblazing and was always so kind and generous as well with her time and with her advice, and just encouraging to us, the younger people in the team, or the more inexperienced people in the team, I should say. I'm not that much younger than Helen, so I don't want to make it sound like she's a lot older than me. But yeah, it was coming through that pathway, I think, gave me a sense that I had a responsibility to do the same for those coming after me. And we'd had opportunities at every Olympics and hadn't brought home any women's medals. But then when I delivered it, it feels like maybe that has opened the floodgates, and now we almost expect, we have such good athletes at every Olympic Games that it's like, well, why wouldn't we win an Olympic medal? And I think Georgia and Beth are the two who've done that, but there are others who can and probably will in the future as well. And that's really exciting for me, and I just I hope to be on the sidelines screaming at them all in a few years' time.
Just quickly on Helen, the fact that she had so much success and yet is still such a central part of the community. How do you think that reflects on the sport, that people just find it so hard to step away even after stopping competing, whether it's roles with the World Triathlon Board or similar, like on athlete committees? Yeah. That pull is just always there.
I think it probably happens in other sports, but I can't really speak about them. So with triathlon, I just feel like it becomes your family, it becomes your community, it becomes a way of life. I think for me, I'm always going to swim, bike and run, even though I'm retired. And I think that's sort of why once you do step away from your professional career as an athlete, you kind of want to stay around and you want to give back to that sport and you want to still be involved. And that's certainly the case for me as well. I have no intentions of disappearing into the abyss. I don't think the triathlon public are going to have much of a chance to miss me.
And so it was Gentle and Holland who came towards the line, a sprint finish for the grand final title at least. Gentle just having the legs on the Brit, and she would come home to win only her second ever WTS race, but just as happy, if not happier, Vicky Holland behind her, second place and finishing ahead of Zafirez, good enough to confirm her as the world champion for 2018. 2018 world champion's got quite a nice ring to it, hasn't it?
I can't actually believe it. I thought at one point in the run there it was done. There was quite a big gap there, and can't believe I brought it back in. But you know, this season as a whole has been absolutely incredible, and 3 wins, 2 seconds and a world title. It's so much more than I thought I would get out of this year.
Speaking specifically on your world championship in 2018, you'd been to Rio, you'd had success there, but that's just another level, as we've seen this weekend, taking that step of being world champion. What did that mean to you?
Winning world championships was really special for me, and probably special in a different way to winning the Olympics. The Olympics have been the dream since I was a kid. The World Championships, when it became a series, I always thought it was something that I couldn't win. I'd always fancied myself as a one-day racer who could peak on one day a year and get it really right. But I didn't think that I could perform from sort of April to September and keep that level really high all year long. And in between Rio and that win in Gold Coast in 2018, I'd been injured for a year. So I'd only raced once in 2017. I'd been out all season. So 2018 was just this amazing year where everything just flowed, everything just rolled into one another. I'd come fourth at Commonwealth Games in the April. I'd been a little bit disappointed. And then a few weeks later, I just started racing World Series races and got on a roll. And it was just one of those magical periods of my life where everything felt like it was going right and I couldn't lose. And I'll always just remember 2018 as just, how did I manage to do that? Because I've had so many struggles since that point of trying to get to that level that I was at. But in 2018, it just felt easy.
Fast forward then to becoming a mum. Was that obviously an incredibly important decision for yourself? Was it daunting then coming back into the sport, or was it something that really inspired you?
Bit of both. I wasn't sure if I was going to come back, so I wanted to have a child after the Tokyo Olympics, and so early 2021, 2022, I'd pretty much stopped training. We got pregnant, I had Emmy, and while I was pregnant, it was around then that I was like, am I going to come back? Do I think I should? And I deliberately kept my options open. I didn't retire. I wanted the chance to come back and have one last stab, but I didn't want to fully commit to it. Didn't know how I would feel when my world got turned upside down with this small human that I had to look after. And yeah, it was sort of as I progressed through 2023 after Emmy had been born that I just started by trying to just do a little bit of exercise. Okay, now try to do a little bit more exercise. Okay, maybe now I can call it I'm training again. Okay, maybe now I'm in the phase of thinking about whether I want to hit a race. And I left it really late. I left it pretty much to the last day I could possibly enter a race, and then I entered the race. And the first race back I did was in Tangier last October, 1st of October last year, and I just loved being back there. I wasn't sure how I would feel, but I knew I had to go and do a race to see whether I still wanted to do it. And being back there, I was like, yeah, this is right. I want to have as good a shot as I can. I'm probably only going to do it for another year, but I want to have as good a shot as I can. Let's just see what I can do.
Taking your success this year to one side briefly, do you think, success or not, you would have been incredibly proud of yourself for just getting back on the circuit this year and showing yourself that you could do it?
Yeah, definitely. That was a huge part of why I did this. I wanted to show myself what I could do and what my body was capable of doing after pregnancy and childbirth. It's a huge deal. It's a huge ordeal what your body goes through in both pregnancy and childbirth, and even again the aftermath of that as well. And I just wanted to get back to a start line, and once I did that, then I think my goals probably shifted slightly. I think having a little bit of success in my first few races back, a mixed bag I should say, but a couple of successful races, I think that showed me that what I'd been able to do in quite a short space of time meant that there would probably be a bit more coming if I could put in a good winter of training. And yeah, this year has been really up and down, some of my best ever and worst ever, and getting to finish it with two really, really good ones is just everything I could have wanted.
I'm just really happy with that. I mean, I'd said all along I wanted to get as close to the level I was at in 2021 when I stepped away to have a baby, and that for me was better than where I was at the end of 2021. And I just hope that maybe gives anybody who's got any inclination that maybe they want to go away and have a baby but they're not sure what it might do to their career, that with the right support and the right mentality and with a lot of hard work you can do it. And that for me is everything. That's my biggest goal for this year, was to try and do that, and that is just the perfect way to end it, and I just couldn't want any more, really.
What would you like to demonstrate to people, athletes, women of the world with what you've done this year?
Yeah, I think it's so important for women to know that they can still have things for themselves. They can still have goals and dreams in their personal life that don't revolve purely around their children. It's not to say your children won't come first, but I think we're often told, or it's maybe a bit ingrained in us, that once you're a mum first and you're everything else second. And yes, okay, I am a mum first, but it's okay to have other things in place that kind of fill your cup, to again use a bit of a cliche. And one of the biggest pieces of advice that I was given and that I would give going forwards is to just don't be afraid to ask for help, to ask for some time for you to go and do the things that you love to do, whether that's training or whether that's something completely different. Don't be afraid to ask. People will want to help you, and people who care about you will allow you to have that time for yourself. And that has been the biggest piece of advice I've had, alongside planning out your childcare. get that structured, work out who's coming to help you when, or when your child's going to nursery or the childminder or whatever it is, and know when you've got these pockets of time coming, because when you are in those days where it's just you and your child and it's quite hard work and it's a bit relentless, knowing you've got that time coming where you can go for that run or whatever it is that you want to do, that's quite a nice thing to hold on to mentally, I think.
Maybe you won't appreciate it now,
Yeah.
but looking back at people, I mean, you see like Serena Williams coming back with success, similar athletes coming back and showing that all of these obstacles that are placed in front of them, or maybe preconceptions that are placed on them, proving people wrong, I guess.
Yeah. I think it's true that it is harder as a mum. So there's always this other human that comes first, and there is always the logistics that go around working out how you're going to do those other things that you want to do, and should you be doing them, should you be taking time away from being with your child and all that kind of stuff. And I think that was something that I've really had to learn as I go this year. But again, we shouldn't have to choose. Women shouldn't be penalised in the workplace or in sport or in professional sport because they have a family. Yes, it's a choice, but we don't see that same thing happening with the men. So why is it only the women that would be penalised? And taking that back to sort of triathlon, and especially short course triathlon, there haven't been historically that many women who've done it. And when I was growing up and coming through the sport, I didn't think it was possible. I just always assumed I would have my triathlon career and then I would go and have children, purely because I didn't think there was any other way. And it was only really been very recently that I've gone, well, actually, maybe I could, and maybe I should, and maybe I would like to. And just in the last few years, there has been a bit of a wave of us that have come through and done it. If you look back at probably 5 years or so, the only person who did it was Nicholas Birrick. There was only one. There was pretty much no one else who was doing it. Whereas now we've had Katie Zafiras and Gwen Jorgensen and myself and Jess Limont, who's on her way back, Alice Beto, Vicky van der Merwe. There's a group of us now who've done it. And I think that is really important for the girls coming through. And I've had so many conversations with athletes in the World Series at World Cup level who sort of said to me, you know, I'm thinking about it. I think the time might be right to start a family, but I'm worried. I'm worried about what that's going to do to my career. I don't know if I can make it work. And it's been nice to hear them say that they've been inspired by what us as a group have done.
Looking forward from this point onwards, I mean, as you just said, you experienced a hell of a lot in this sport. How do you take that experience and take your voice forwards now that you've left the racing scene itself behind?
Okay, so going forwards, I've got a few things planned, if you like. I am already involved with some commentary work and some punditry work, and I'd love to continue doing that. I love talking. I love this sport, so getting to talk about this sport is just perfect. So hopefully I'll be doing quite a bit more of that. I've also done some coaching qualifications already. I'm actually in the process of getting another level as well, so to make me hopefully someone who can successfully and professionally guide other people to maybe achieve their goals and dreams. And you know, I've been in this sport a really long time. Hopefully I've got a few bits of wisdom to pass on to people and that they might want to hear. And I think as well, with this last part of my career being a postpartum athlete, maybe that's something that not that many coaches have got the same experience of. So maybe that's something a bit niche that I can assist women with. And beyond that, I'd love to do little bits of mentoring if it comes my way. I really want to still be around this sport. I want to be involved. I want to be at the grand finals, but you know, enjoying and cheering and supporting people, and just giving back to this sport that's just given me so much.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much.
Thank you.